Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun. Yo, Miller! A booming voice shattered his concentration. Earth to Nerd Boy! Jason's shoulders tensed as he reluctantly lifted his gaze from the page. 3 of his classmates sauntered toward him, their swagger announcing their presence before they even reached him. Brad, the ringleader, smirked as he leaned against the lockers next to Jason. Still hitting the books, huh? Don't you ever take a break? Jason shrugged, closing his textbook with a soft thump. Some of us actually care about our grades, Brad. Brad's smirk widened. Oh, we care. We just know how to have fun, too. He exchanged glances with his buddies, a mischievous glint in his eyes. Speaking of which, we've got a little proposition for you. Alarm bells went off in Jason's head. Whenever Brad had a proposition, it usually spelled trouble.
I'm not interested,
he muttered, shoving his book into his backpack.
Oh, come on, hear us out,
Brad persisted, throwing an arm around Jason's shoulders.
We've got a bet going, and we think you're just the man for the job.
Jason tried to squirm away, but Brad's grip was firm.
What kind of bet?
He asked warily. Brad's grin turned predatory.
We want you to infiltrate the popular crowd.
Jason blinked, certain he'd misheard.
You want me to what? Infiltrate the popular crowd? You know, the cool kids?
Brad gestured down the hall where a group of well-dressed students laughed and chatted by the water fountain.
But here's the kicker. You've got to do it dressed as a girl.
For a moment, Jason was sure he was dreaming. He pinched himself, wincing at the sharp pain. Nope, definitely awake.
You're insane,
he stammered.
There's no way I'm doing that.
Brad's friends snickered behind him.
What's the matter, Miller? Scared of a little challenge?
It's not a challenge, it's humiliation, Jason protested.
Besides, there's no way I could pull that off. I don't exactly scream teenage girl.
Brad waved his hand dismissively. Details. We'll help you out. My sister's got a whole closet full of clothes she never wears. And Ethan's mom is a makeup artist. She's got more cosmetics than Sephora. Jason's mind reeled. This was madness. Absolute madness. And what exactly would I have to do?
Simple,
Brad explained.
You dress up as a girl, crash Stephanie Morgan's party this weekend, and get yourself invited into her inner circle. If you can keep up the act for a week without getting caught, you win. Win what?
Jason asked suspiciously. Brad's grin widened.
$500 each.
He gestured to his friends. That's $1,500, Miller. Think of all the nerdy stuff you could buy with that. Jason's eyes widened. $1,500 was a lot of money, especially for a high school student. He could finally upgrade his ancient computer, buy that telescope he'd been eyeing. And if I get caught? He asked, already hating himself for considering it. Brad shrugged. Then you owe us
each $100, and you have to do our math homework for the rest of the year.
Jason's stomach churned.
It was a risky proposition, but the potential payoff.
He took a deep breath, knowing he was probably going to regret this.
Fine, I'll do it,
Brad whooped, slapping Jason on the back.
That's the spirit. Operation Girlification begins tomorrow after school. Be at my place at 4.
As Brad and his friends sauntered away, laughing and high-fiving each other, Jason slumped against his locker. What had he just gotten himself into? The next afternoon found Jason standing awkwardly in Brad's sister's bedroom, surrounded by a dizzying array of clothes, shoes, and accessories. Brad's sister, Megan, circled him like a shark. Her eyes narrowed in concentration. We've got our work cut out for us, she muttered, tugging at Jason's baggy t-shirt. But I think we can make this work. For the next 2 hours, Jason found himself poked, prodded, and transformed. Megan attacked his unruly hair with various styling products, taming it into a sleek bob with the help of some clip-in extensions. Ethan's mom worked her magic with makeup, contouring his face to soften his features and emphasizing his eyes with smoky shadow and mascara. When they finally allowed him to look in the mirror, Jason's jaw dropped. Staring back at him was a stranger, a pretty, feminine stranger with big brown eyes and pouty lips. The floral dress he wore hugged curves he didn't even know he had, padded in all the right places to create a convincing silhouette. "Holy crap," he whispered, his voice coming out higher than usual. "Is that really me?" Megan grinned, adjusting the wig one last time. "Meet Jasmine, gentlemen. I think we've got ourselves a winner." Brad wolf whistled. "Damn, Miller, you make one hot chick." Jason flushed, the blush visible even under the layers of makeup. "This is so weird," he mumbled. "Weird but effective," Brad declared.
"Now, let's go over the plan for tonight."
As Brad laid out the details, Jason's nervousness grew. This wasn't just about dressing up anymore. He actually had to convince people he was a girl. How was he supposed to pull that off?
"Remember,"
Brad said as they piled into his car later that evening, "you're Jasmine, Brad's cousin visiting from out of town. You're outgoing, confident, and totally into all that girly stuff." Jason nodded, his stomach doing somersaults. "Right, Jasmine, outgoing, confident. Got it." As they pulled up to Stephanie Morgan's sprawling house, music and laughter spilled out onto the perfectly manicured lawn. Jason took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. "Showtime, Jasmine," Brad grinned, opening the car door. "Knock 'em dead. On wobbly legs, curse these heels." Jason made his way up the front walk. He could do this. Just act confident, he told himself. Fake it till you make it. The door swung open, revealing a stunning blonde in a tight red dress. Stephanie Morgan, Queen Bee of Eastwood High, surveyed the new arrival with curious blue eyes. "Hi there," she said, her voice warm but slightly puzzled. "I don't think we've met before." Jason's heart pounded. This was it. Showtime! He summoned every ounce of confidence he could muster and flashed a dazzling smile. "I'm Jasmine," he said, praying his voice sounded suitably feminine. "Brad's cousin. I'm visiting for a couple of weeks and he insisted I come meet everyone." Stephanie's face lit up. "Oh, how fun! Well, welcome to Eastwood, Jasmine. Come on in. I'll introduce you to everyone." As Stephanie linked her arm through his and led him into the party, Jason felt a mix of relief and trepidation. He'd made it past the first hurdle, but the night was young. How long could he keep up this charade? The party was in full swing, the living room transformed into a makeshift dance floor where bodies writhed to the pulsing beat. Stephanie guided Jason through the crowd, introducing him to a blur of faces and names he knew he'd never remember. "Girls!" Stephanie called out, waving to a group gathered near the snack table. "Come meet Jasmine!" 3 girls turned, their eyes raking over Jason with a mixture of curiosity and assessment. He recognized them as Stephanie's main clique: Brittany, the red-headed cheerleader, Ashley, the fashionista, and Zoe, the artsy one. "Jasmine's visiting from out of town," Stephanie explained. "I thought we could show her some Eastwood hospitality." The girls exchanged glances, a silent conversation passing between them. Finally, Brittany smiled, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Welcome to Eastwood, Jasmine. How long are you staying?" Jason cleared his throat, pitching his voice higher. "Just a couple of weeks. It's been great so far. Everyone's so friendly." Ashley tilted her head, her gaze lingering on Jason's outfit. "Cute dress. Where'd you get it?" Panic flared in Jason's chest. He had no idea where the dress came from. "Oh, just a little boutique back home," he said, vaguely. "I don't remember the name." Ashley's eyes narrowed slightly, but before she could press further, Zoe chimed in. "So, Jasmine, what do you like to do for fun?" Jason's mind raced. What did teenage girls like to do?
"Oh, you know,"
he said with a nervous laugh. "Shopping, hanging out with friends, watching movies." He trailed off, realizing how generic he sounded. Stephanie, however, seemed delighted. "Oh my God, we should totally have a girls' night while you're here. We could do makeovers and watch rom-coms. It'll be so much fun." The other girls nodded in agreement, though Jason noticed Brittany and Ashley exchanging skeptical looks. He forced a bright smile.
"That sounds great!"
As the night wore on, Jason found himself relaxing slightly. The constant fear of being discovered was still there, thrumming beneath the surface, but he was surprised to find he was actually enjoying himself. The girls, while intimidating, were fun to talk to, and he found himself drawn into their world of gossip and inside jokes. "So, Jasmine," Stephanie said, pulling him aside as the party began to wind down. "What are you doing tomorrow? We're having a little shopping trip to the mall. Want to come?" Jason hesitated. On one hand, spending more time with the girls increased his chances of slipping up. On the other, it was exactly the kind of invitation he needed to win the bet. "I'd love to," he heard himself say. Stephanie beamed. "Perfect! We'll pick you up at noon. Oh, this is going to be so much fun!" As Jason made his way home that night, carefully removing the wig and makeup in Brad's sister's room, he couldn't quite shake the strange feeling in his chest. It was a mixture of exhilaration and guilt, excitement at having successfully pulled off the deception, and shame at lying to people who had been nothing but kind to him. "You did it, man," Brad said, clapping him on the back. "You're in."
"Keep this up for a week, and that money is as good as yours."
Jason nodded, but the victory felt hollow. As he climbed into bed that night, his head spinning with the events of the evening, he couldn't help but wonder, at what cost would this victory come? The next week passed in a whirlwind of activity. Every day after school, Jason would transform into Jasmine, spending his evenings and weekends with Stephanie and her friends. They went shopping, had sleepovers, and even hit up a local club using fake IDs. With each passing day, Jason found himself slipping more easily into the role of Jasmine. It was during one of their mall trips that Jason had a revelation. As he browsed through racks of clothes with the girls, offering opinions on outfits and giggling over gossip, he realized he was actually enjoying himself. There was a freedom in being Jasmine that he'd never experienced as Jason. People smiled at him, doors were held open, and for once in his life he felt noticed. "Jasmine, what do you think of this?" Stephanie held up a sparkly top, her eyes bright with excitement. Jason studied it critically, surprising himself with his genuine interest. "It's cute, but I think it would look even better in blue. It would really bring out your eyes." Stephanie's face lit up. "Oh my God, you're so right. You have such a good eye for this stuff." As they continued shopping, Jason found himself opening up more, sharing made-up stories about his life back home and joining in on the playful banter. It was during one of these moments, as they all tried on ridiculous hats and took selfies, that Jason caught sight of himself in a mirror. For a moment, he didn't recognize the person staring back at him. It wasn't just the physical transformation. There was a lightness in his eyes, a genuine smile on his lips that he rarely saw on Jason's face. He looked happy. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. He was enjoying this far more than he should be. This wasn't just about winning a bet anymore. He was starting to prefer being Jasmine to being Jason. As the end of the week approached, Jason found himself dreading the moment he'd have to reveal the truth. He'd grown close to the girls, especially Stephanie. They'd shared secrets, inside jokes, and late-night conversations that felt more real than any friendship he'd had as Jason. The night before the bet was set to end, Stephanie invited Jasmine over for a sleepover. As they sat on her bed, painting each other's nails and talking about their hopes and dreams, Jason felt a crushing weight of guilt settle over him. "You know, Jasmine," Stephanie said softly, "I'm really glad you came to visit. I feel like I can be myself around you, like you really get me." Jason's heart clenched at Stephanie's words. The genuine warmth in her voice made his guilt feel like a physical presence, pressing down on his chest. He forced a smile, hoping it didn't look as strained as it felt.
"I'm really glad I came too,"
he said softly, and it wasn't a lie. These past days had been some of the best of his life, even if they were built on a foundation of deception. Stephanie leaned back against her pillows, her expression thoughtful. "Can I tell you something? Something I've never told anyone else?" Jason nodded, curiosity warring with his growing discomfort. "Of course. You can tell me anything." Stephanie took a deep breath, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her pajama top. I think I might like girls, like in a more than friends way." The confession hung in the air between them, heavy with implications. Jason's mind raced, unsure how to respond. As Jasmine, he was supposed to be supportive and understanding. But, as Jason, he felt a confusing mix of emotions he couldn't quite unravel. "Wow," he finally managed, his voice soft. That's big. How long have you known?" Stephanie shrugged, not meeting his eyes. "I don't know, a while, I guess, but I've never said it out loud before. I was afraid of what people might think, Especially the girls. We're so close, and I didn't want to make things weird." Jason nodded, understanding all too well the fear of not fitting in.
"Your friends care about you, Steph. I'm sure they'd support you no matter what."
"Maybe," Stephanie said, a small smile tugging at her lips. I feel like I'm always playing a part, The popular girl, the perfect student, the straight girl with the quarterback boyfriend. Sometimes I wonder if anyone really knows me at all." The irony of the situation wasn't lost on Jason. Here he was, quite literally playing a part, while Stephanie poured out her heart about her own hidden truth. The weight of his deception felt heavier than ever. "I think," he said carefully, "that being true to yourself is the most important thing. It might be scary, but the people who really matter will stand by you." Stephanie looked up, her eyes shining with unshed tears.
"You really think so?"
Jason nodded, reaching out to squeeze her hand.
"I know so."
For a moment, they sat in companionable silence, the weight of Stephanie's confession settling around them. Then, to Jason's surprise, Stephanie leaned in and pressed a soft, quick kiss to his cheek. "Thank you," she whispered, "for listening, for understanding. I'm so glad you're here, Jasmine." Jason's cheek tingled where her lips had touched, and a storm of conflicting emotions raged inside him. Guilt, affection, confusion. It was all tangled up in a knot he couldn't begin to unravel. "I'm glad I'm here too," he said, and he meant it more than he ever had before. As they settled in for the night, Stephanie drifting off to sleep beside him, Jason lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow was the last day of the bet. He should have been excited. He was on the verge of winning, of proving to Brad and his friends that he could pull this off. Instead, all he felt was a deep, aching sadness.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!